Hello and welcome back to the LFC Transfer Room. Today we've got a match preview of the Manchester City vs Liverpool game in the FA Cup semi-final for tomorrow. We're joined by a free guest, one that you won't have seen before, but I'll introduce the two regulars. Owen, how are you doing today?
I'm very good, thanks, mate. Really excited for tomorrow's game. I think it's going to be a really, really even game, and there's going to be, it's going to be quite fiery, I think. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, Matty, we just got over the stress of playing Manchester City and we've got to play them again. So not the best feeling, is it?
Nah, and I think we're going to probably have to play about 3 more times since again as well. I think we're going to play the Champions League final against them. So the stress isn't good, but I'm excited.
And special guest from Never a Foul, MCFCDaps. How are you doing today?
I'm here. I'm ready to talk about the game. I'm still wounded from Madrid, but yeah. Do you know what? I did a stream. I did a couple of streams last night when I got back, and the final one that was at 11 o'clock. I ended up just saying, do you know what? This is so raw, and this is not only that physically I'm drained, emotionally from the last couple of weeks I'm drained, and we've still got a lot more, all of us, to be drained from. But at the same time, we're not complaining. Although we are complaining, we're not complaining because we could be Man United. So
yeah, well, I mean, we had Atletico Madrid 4 times in the space of 3 years, so completely understand how you drain from their absolutely anti-football tactics. But hopefully,
you're right. And you know what? It was the first time we said at the ground. It's the first time that we've actually probably put in that type of performance in Europe, where we've just had to grind it out and show that we can play that if need be. I mean, we needed Fernandinho on. Without him, it looked difficult. But once we got him on, he kind of rallied the troops, and it was hard. They really are shit houses. They really are.
Yeah. Do you know what? We're Matty Owen. I don't think we really had the group games were dead easy against them, weren't they, this year? But their quarterfinals from a few years ago, it's horrible watching it. Horrible. Like you know you're better than them, but you can't. There's not much you can do when you've got 10 players behind the ball for 90 minutes and them, laying down and kicking the shit out of you for the whole time. But
and one last thing, what makes it even worse is, and if I was them, I would have actually played him from the start because of who he is and his association with your club. Is for the last 25 minutes they bring on Suarez just to make us even more nervous.
Yeah, he had a few chances as well, so.
And that's the thing. There's one thing we as a club, we get rattled by little things. Like we really. So the minute he was on, it was like we cannot have Luis Suarez putting us out of the Champions League, and it was just nervy times, but we got through it.
Yeah.
And you lot. I didn't see your game, but was it just a case of maybe you rested a few players, right?
Yeah, we rested most players. We
really
had our makeshift back 4 in. We had Joe Gomez at right back.
Yeah, Gomez got a run out. I saw.
Yeah, so it was pretty much we knew we'd win it. I think most Liverpool fans knew with that game that we probably wasn't going to be like a big win or anything, but we would have got through anyway. So and it was obviously beneficial to Liverpool resting all our key men for this week as well.
Yeah, definitely. So it's we both go into the FA Cup tomorrow off tough games to say the least. But if you are new, please do make sure you leave a like, go down, get your comments in as well. We'll try and answer them, and subscribe if you're not already. It's a big game, isn't it, to say the least, Owen? It could be winner takes all. Whoever wins this stops either of us from winning a quadruple or the treble. That's the main thing about it, isn't it? But surely Liverpool have got a bit of advantage with Atletico and what they brought out to City on the Wednesday.
I'm not sure, because City, their squad depth in the midfield, where they would have had to do a lot of running against Atletico, they can just switch them all out really, and there's no real downgrading quality. Both teams now have incredible squad depth. I think that's absolutely fantastic going forward, because it means that we're only going to see more challenges against each other coming in the future. So that's really, really good and promising. But yeah, I think both teams will make changes. I think both, especially us, seeing the team we put out against Benfica, will definitely bring Salah, Trent, Robertson, Fabinho, them lads back in, and yeah, just give it all we've got, really. I think a lot of momentum is going into this game. Both teams, both playing extremely well. So may the best team win.
Yeah, I mean, Daps, you'll know this more than us, but I think he only made 2 changes from the Sunday game, from the starting 11 anyway, against Atletico Madrid.
Jesus came out.
Yeah.
Who's the other one?
Is that Ake?
Yeah.
No,
I think I think it was 2 changes, but
Ake came on because Walker got injured.
Yeah.
Ake didn't start. I think it probably was about 2 changes.
Yeah. So Liverpool made 7 changes from the game. How big do you think that's going to be in the terms of it? And do you expect a similar team to start against us tomorrow?
No, I don't. It's such a hard one, because with any other team, and this is, I'd say, do you know what? Yeah, we might see a weaker team, but it is Pep. He believes in momentum. He always believes in momentum, and not just momentum, but this now is the other team's momentum, because it's you. So, so far this season is 2 draws. Do we want to go and give you that mental kind of thing that you've beat us once and we haven't beat you yet? And I don't think he'd want to do that. And the biggest thing is that anything I say on this pod, take as my opinion and my opinion only, right? Because I know that Manchester City fans, we're going down there. A lot of us are going down there. We, like you, how we're getting down there, we're not quite sure how we're getting back. But we're playing. We all want to win it. Pep wants to win it. The team want to win it. For me, the Champions League and the league is far more important. However, this is the big one for us and for you. If we go on and win the Champions League and the Premier League and we'll then look back if we didn't win the FA Cup and be like, we could have done a full-on treble if we would have just won that game. For you guys, if you guys don't win it, you're going to look back saying we could have done one thing better than Man United and won the quadruple. So for both of us, it's that thing that at the moment, how important is it? At the end of the season, how important would it be to have that other trophy? But with us, the biggest thing is, look, Walker's not playing. De Bruyne won't play. And if De Bruyne won't play, it's that simple. I know with De Bruyne, it's a bit more precautionary. I think it's more...
I think he's got an opened wound, is what Guardiola said, which probably means he won't be playing. But, we've seen tactics from Pep before.
But the thing is, we have, and that's caused issues. Last season, we kept rushing De Bruyne back, kept doing it. And by the end of the season, if you look at that Champions League final, away from the Rudiger incident, he wasn't fit. He was not fit. And it was because we kept rushing him back. Belgium kept rushing him back, and he never really got back to full fitness. We can't do that, because after this game, this is the FA Cup. After this, we've got Brighton at home, Watford at home. We can afford, hopefully, touch wood, to rest De Bruyne for that. And we need to. Like, you talk about our depth, our squad depth. Last season, when he was injured, we actually were really good without him. We have to do that, because this season, he's that man that's going to pull us over the line. I don't know. We might see Cole Palmer, maybe. I still think he's going to come in somewhere this season. Before he got injured, he was looking good. And I always talk about a few seasons back where Foden wasn't really starting much. Then we had a really important game against Tottenham. And out of nowhere, he started Foden and Foden scored. And I would not be surprised if one game, Cole Palmer, out of nowhere, just gets started. I think Jesus will start. I think Grealish has to start. He's fresh legs. He hasn't played for a while. But yeah, it's hard to say who wants it more.
I mean, speaking of that KDB injury, Matty, you know, we saw on last Sunday, he runs the game against us. He's one of the scariest players in the Premier League. You know, how big is that going to be for City? And, you know, not just for City, but for the mentality of Liverpool, because it does seem like it is a mentality thing in our midfield when we play against them. We just don't know what to do against them, do we?
No, Kevin De Bruyne for me is one of the only players in the Premier League I'd take at Liverpool. He's world class. He is absolutely world class. I love Kevin De Bruyne, and it pains me because he's not at us, but it's huge. And I do think that Kevin De Bruyne not playing probably swings the odds a little bit more in St. Liverpool's favour. But I don't think that could be where the game's won and lost. I think Kyle Walker's a bigger miss for City, because then that means that Cancelo's now got to play on the right and they've got to play Ajayo, Zinchenko, Marco Salah. That's massive.
Yeah, really good shout.
Having Cancelo on Salah, he kept Salah quiet last week. Now they haven't got that. So I think that's where the game could be won and lost. As much as Kevin De Bruyne absolutely bullied Liverpool last weekend, I do think that the bigger miss for City will be Kyle Walker, purely because they're now playing a weaker person against Salah.
Also, last week, we saw Walker once or twice stepping in. The thing is with Walker, we all know it. It's a bit like Raheem Sterling. We all know he's going to miss some, but then also he's going to pop up. Same thing with Walker. We kind of do know Walker's got mistakes in him now, but he's also that insurance that we had, and we saw it against you once or twice, where when other people were caught upfield, he's back and will just. So I think that's really important, especially when he is on the wing that Trent will be coming out.
Trent and Salah,
yeah. I mean, you know, he's a bit like Van Dijk. You know, he's so fast. If he does make a mistake, it's not really an issue because he can get back. But Owen, you know, it is going to be massive KDB and Walker going out, but Pep has been known to switch things up for cup competitions. I think he was talking about starting Zach Stefan in goal. We're most likely going to be starting Alisson no matter what. I mean, I don't know if you'd start Kelleher. I don't think that there's an issue with any
I don't think he will start Kelleher. It was only the League Cup where that was his competition. So Alisson played in the against Forest, didn't he?
Yeah. So I think Alisson's bang on, but you know, we're probably going to be starting our best 11 going into this, aren't we, Owen?
Who you got after? Oh no, you've got Man United after this.
We've got Man United.
Start your best 11. You'll be fine.
We've got Man United and then Everton as well. So it's but Owen, you know, going in, we have to start our best team, don't we, against these?
Yeah, we have to. Every game from now until the end of the season is a cup final, in my eyes. You have to win. If you want to win every trophy now, there's no room for mistakes, no room for slip-ups, if you like. So I think KDB is a massive loss for City. It wasn't really until recently, I think, I was giving him the sort of respect he deserves, kind of, because you look at it and think, well, at the end of the day, anyone can do that job because City is so good with so many runners inside that all he has to do is put the ball in. But it's a lot more than it to, it's a lot more than it to that because it's got to be precise and perfect, really. So, yeah, I think even though they got Foden, Bernardo Silva, loads of kind of great players, Jack Grealish in that area. So I don't think it will affect them too badly. I just don't see any of them on the same level as KDB.
Do you know what the thing is with KDB, right? Is you spoke about, it's very true, his passes. But there's so much more to his game that doesn't get spoke about enough. I think Pep actually came out this week and said it. It's off the ball. His tracking back is sensational. He doesn't stop. And that is the key to this Manchester City team. And it's probably the same. I don't watch too much of Liverpool. I don't like watching my rivals that are good wins. So I don't bother watching it too much. But with De Bruyne, he gets back so much and puts a shift in. And it doesn't really get spoken about enough because of how good he is going forward. But not just that. At the moment, a few weeks ago, when we decided we wanted to take this to we wanted to turn this into a battle with you lot instead of trying to walk away with it. I said, okay, that's fine. Where's our company? Where's our Yaya Toure? Where's our Sergio Aguero? Where's our Silva? Where is our player that's going to step up and actually drag us over the line? Because after we'd lost to Tottenham, dropped points against Palace, looked mediocre against even Brentford, to be fair, I was worrying, and it's De Bruyne that has stepped up and been that player for us. So I think that's the key as well, is if De Bruyne's not playing, now I go back to who's going to be that player that comes in. Now, maybe Diaz coming back could be that player, but we need somebody to come in and be a leader for us. So there's so much more to De Bruyne away from his passing. And I think it does worry me. The other thing, what you just said about Zach Steffen starting, that worries me massively, because we're not as comfortable playing out from the back with Zach Steffen, and against a team like Liverpool, that would massively if Jota plays, because Jota was really good at pressing last week as well. So, which apparently is not always the case, but last week I thought he was really good at pressing Ederson. So,
yeah, I think we can all agree Jota's very much he scores a goal and doesn't do much else, which we take. But I think it was one of his better games against City. To be fair, he did look lively. But one thing I want to ask, Daps, we've drawn twice this season. We're playing tomorrow, and there's the possibility, a very high possibility, I think, that we meet each other in the Champions League final.
You said that, not me.
I think just turn Real Madrid over, if I'm being honest. But how big is this mentality-wise? Because no matter what happens, a winner comes out of this game. And, that whoever wins that, their mentality is going to be like off the charts. They're going to be like, we've already done City or Liverpool this year. Why can't we go and win every other game in the Premier League, and then the pressure gets to the opposite team, and then in the final, I do think whoever wins this, if we do meet in the final, there's a massive mental block for one side. But this game's massive for the rest of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, if we're talking about the Champions League final, we don't need you to beat us in any other game for us to overthink that Champions League final. Listen, I said this the other day. The fact is, the media will see it that if City and Pep do not win the Champions League this year, it's a fail, right? That's the way they'll see it. For me, right, I'm happy that for the first time in our history, as I know it, certainly, we've reached 2 semi-finals of the Champions League on the bounce. However, for us to win the Champions League, right, us who have never won one, our fans only started believing last summer against Sporting. That's the first time we really thought we really deserved to be there. And now we have to face, apart from Bayern Munich, the 2 most successful teams in Champions League football, right? So anyone that's saying, I think you'll turn over and I think this, I think that, I can't even begin to. I think we have to play 2 teams that have won more Champions Leagues than anyone else. And that is something mentally that every single City fan, player, member of staff will know going into that game. So this season's good, but we could do with a win to know that we can beat you. But at the end of the day, it's not the Champions League. And this is not a shot. Don't see it as a shot. In my lifetime, I've seen Liverpool win more Champions Leagues than I've seen them win leagues, right? So I'm never going to underestimate Liverpool in the Champions League, ever, 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 ever.
I mean, Matty, I'll throw this to you, but I think we've spoken before, who we prefer in the Champions League final. Saying we beat Villarreal, obviously the game's not done. But, I mean, do you guys both agree that we'd easily prefer Real Madrid in that one-off final?
Yeah,
but I thought you were going to say them Villarreal.
No, I prefer Real Madrid, but I get what Daps is saying, because Pep is a serial overthinker when it comes to games like that. We've seen it last week. I honestly believe that he overthought the Champions League final too much last season. I think that was theirs to win. So that side of it, I'm not as worried, because I do think Pep will probably do something mad in the final. But I'd much rather get to a Champions League final, and if we were to lose it to Real Madrid than City, because you're never at the end of it. Like, it was the same when we fought Tottenham. I was proper nervous. I was more nervous for that Tottenham Champions League final than anything else. I just don't want to face an English team. But I think City steamroll through Real Madrid, so I think it will be Liverpool City in the final, to be honest.
I think that's the same with us. Like, I actually said, if I could see the future and we get to the final and we lose to Liverpool, I'll go out in the semis. Honestly, I'll go out in the semis than face that, and knowing for the second year in a row we've gone out to an English team, because that just stinks.
Do you know what? I do think it's more. There's more pressure on Liverpool because at the end of the day, we've won 6 Champions Leagues. You know, where to not lose to honest to God, because if we lose to Man City, it's the end. Like, we've let Man City win the first European competition. If you let Liverpool, it's just another Champions League for us. Like, it might sound cocky, but it's just another one to add to the trophy cabinet.
It's not cocky. It's fine. It's true. It's the truth. It's not cocky. The one thing I would say is, though, I think you might be right on that. However, to Pep and Klopp, no, because Klopp has a Champions League with Liverpool. Pep still doesn't. And all anyone will ever say is City only brought him in to win the Champions League. So until he gets that Champions League, and if he doesn't get that Champions League, no one's going to speak about him the way that they probably should do about his era at City, because they'll just say he didn't win the Champions League with him. So, and then we'll probably have someone.
We'll have Arteta come in and pick one up. Messi. Everyone says, "Oh, we can't do it without Messi." For me, like, rivalry aside, I think Pep's fantastic. I didn't really respect Pep until the documentary came out, Take the Ball Past 4, and he is phenomenal. I
think I'm the same as you, mate. I really, when he came to us, I was one of the people that was saying, look, it's great we've got him, but let's be honest, when he turned up at Bayern, the previous manager had won everything in one season, right? And Pep didn't. I mean, to be fair, he did change the way the team played and he brought them to it, but he didn't achieve more than the previous manager. So I said, look, let's wait and see. And yeah, exactly the same as you, until the Centurion season and then seeing the documentary on it. And I do actually think he's evolving. He's evolving still. And I think, you know what, last weekend, one of the best things I took from it was that in fact, before the game and after the game, I'm not a fan of Jurgen Klopp. I'm a little bit more of a fan of Jurgen Klopp after the way he spoke about Pep before the game and after the game. He was very respectful, and it kind of made me see him. Do you know what? I probably dislike him just because he's successful and he's a rival. Him and Pep's relationship's good. And just to touch on, if we do play each other in the Champions League final, are you guys with me that if we take this league, right, if we're playing in the semi-final tomorrow, we've had 2 of the best games of football this season, right? If the league goes down to the last week, or do you know what? It doesn't matter if it goes down to the last week. It's gone far enough. And then if we play in the Champions League final, for me, that is the highest quality rivalry the Premier League, I don't know about the English league, but let's say England's ever seen. For me.
Yeah, do you know what? We've saw this debate massively, and I think there's a lot of people who are caught on nostalgia, and I also think there's a lot of fans who've never even seen that rivalry. Look, I'm 21. I was 22. Sorry, I don't remember that rivalry. That's before my time, and you have a large majority of the fans on Twitter saying nothing will ever beat this rivalry. I'm like, you've never seen the rivalry. What are you on about? You've seen YouTube clips of it. You've seen, Vieira compilations and going through Roy Keane, but you've never been at that rivalry, and neither have I. But I've never seen a rivalry this highly competitive. The 2 draws, I think every Liverpool fan will admit that Man City deserved to win both of the games this season.
That's fair of you to say.
We hung on and we got a draw pretty, well. But in the terms of football that's being played, Gary Neville's saying it, and Gary Neville played in the side. You've got players who are playing in the team saying there's never been 2 teams this higher quality. And I think as a footballer, not as maybe it was more a rivalry back then. People hated each other, but you don't have to hate people to be a rival. No. This is the 2 best teams in Premier League history, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've had the debate so much, and for me, there's 2 things I think that Carragher maybe, it didn't do wrong because he was asked the questions, he gave an answer, but there's 2 bits that if you change, it makes it far more relevant. One is if he waited until the Champions League final, because then I think for me that is the cherry on the cake. We've not only competed, because people will call up other games that they'll say Chelsea. I think Chelsea United in the semis, and they also competed that season for the Premier League, and then also I think Arsenal. Then also Arsenal and United ones. But the difference is, this is going to be the final, and also it's the fact that this is the 4th or 5th year that we've been going at it. And And the second thing is he said did he say the biggest or the best? One of those two.
He said the biggest, which is
well. There you go.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when my club's involved right now, don't dare say biggest because everyone's going to shoot it down for whatever reason. It's going to get shot down. You can't say biggest when it involves City right now. You have to use certain words like high quality because I'm not going to come here and say we're the biggest club in the world. We're not. So those and people just cling on to that and rip it apart. But
I think what confirms how good this rivalry is that the year Liverpool won the league and City lost it, the points City had would have won the league. Yeah, but that year, the points City got when he finished second would have won the league in about 15 out of the last so many years. And when Liverpool got 99 points, that would have won the league. Like United now winning the leagues on 70 odd points. So these teams are just stupid. They're the two best teams in the world and have been for the past 5 years. Easy.
And when we won the league, you won the Champions League. So it's like, come on, the levels are just so, but it is what it is. You're spot on because I saw Arsenal fans trying to claim it's Wenger and Fergie. I saw Chelsea fans trying to put their name in the mix as well. So it's just very clear. It's like, okay, your team isn't being spoke about, so you want to throw them in there. But that's what it is, man.
There's been a lot of great rivalries over the year. I think, maybe before Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola, it was a bit more hatred. You've got your Wenger and Ferguson and Rafa Mourinho. I think they're the main standout ones. They hated each other. The players hated each other. But, in terms of quality, I think Anthony's got it. It's by far the best, highest quality rivalry. Is it the best rivalry to watch as someone who wants to see people kicking the crap out of each other? No, go and watch the Battle of the Bridge. That's a great rivalry where players are destroying each other. But I don't think anybody who has watched these two teams can deny that it's the best quality, best football quality rivalry. A
prime example is last week. I was trying to pick out your worst players, and it was hard. I'm sitting there thinking, and I think I ended up saying, I think maybe Fabinho wasn't as good in the first half as I expected him to be, but he really wasn't bad. It's just of everyone. That's who, and then for us, probably Edison, maybe. But it's so hard because everyone, and it's even harder when for a week building up to it, everyone's saying this game's going to be such high quality. This game, it could have been a very nervous, ropey 0-0, but it wasn't. It was still high quality, and it just shows how good the players, the manager, the mentality, everything at the clubs. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like we could speak about this forever. We've got Arsenal and United fans; they're never going to give up, but. We'll all agree that's the best quality rivalry football.
Yeah,
quality.
I think for me, in terms of rivalry, who I hate the most, got to be United. But with City, it's hard. As much as you want to not like them, it's hard to dislike how good they are and what they're doing. I mean, all Liverpool fans always say, "Oh, money, money, money." But if that was our club, we'd be made up. Do you know what I mean? So I don't really bring that into it in terms of quality and what Pep does there. You can't help but have a little bit of respect for City in terms of what they're doing and how good they actually are. The team is fantastic, and any side with De Bruyne in is going to be a treat to watch as well. So I think.
Do you know what, Matt? That's something I'm trying to do at the moment, right? Is when I'm seeing comments or anything on streams, like the other day, someone started talking about ticket allocations. I was like, just stop this, right? All of this is just. We don't need to do this. Our teams are too good. Our teams are battling on the pitch. All this tit for tat. I'm so bored of Trent discussions. And I've said this on quite a few channels now. The Trent debate is not a debate. He's 23 years old. He's been doing it for 4 or 5 years. Reece James has one good season that still isn't as good as Trent. And people put him in the mix. It's just, you know what? I can respect Trent at 23 years old. Everyone stopped talking about him. He's English, and in 5 years' time, what a player England are going to have. And the same with Salah. And then you can say the same about De Bruyne. I've heard a lot of Liverpool fans. I know it's harder to say it about Bernardo Silva. I know you and him don't really get on, but but you can. And we don't always have to find cheap little shots to aim at each other because our teams are that damn good. If you win the Champions League, there's a shot. You've beat us in the Champions League. If we beat you in the FA Cup, there's a shot. Let's just leave it to that and not go tit for tat about. And also on Klopp. For me, Klopp, Pep, if I had to vote, 50-50. I don't know who's a better manager. Both have points against them.
Yeah, do you know what? I think a lot of the hatred comes from Twitter. It's the same with every fan base. You know, even though we have a large following on Twitter. Thank you everyone for following. But I'm sorry, but a lot of people's opinions on Twitter just it's there to bait people. It's there to get a reaction. They probably don't believe it themselves. They're probably sitting there, 14 years old, laughing to themselves. Oh, I'm going to get loads of L's and ratios on this. Like, ha ha ha. Like, so it's I think if you get match going fans from both clubs, like yourself, like Matty, there's a mutual respect there. Yes, we dislike each other on a certain extent. There's always going to be that in a football rivalry, but there's always a mutual respect. But and as well, there's always going to be fans from each side that do let down the fan base. I don't know if you saw the video flying around of the City fans from the away end. We with the 97. It was. By the way, it's an anniversary of the 97 today. So
I know. Do you know what, lads? Just quickly, have you heard of a guy called McIver?
Matty will probably have a better idea.
He's got a banner in. It's my brother-in-law's dad. I'll get his name in a minute. Yeah, he's rest in peace, by the way. But he was one of the main people for the fundraising and everything. He's got a flag in the Kop and everything. Yeah, so it is. Look, and there is that rivalry, and I always say this to people down here. So I grew up in Manchester till I was 15, moved down south, but my dad's a Manc. My sisters are still up there; they're Mancs, and my sister married a Scouser, which my dad hated. He hated it, right? There is that rivalry, and people down south just instantly go, "There's no rivalry between Liverpool and City." I get it; it's not Man United, but at the same time, Manchester and Liverpool generally don't get on. So there is that extra little bite. I'm not saying it's Man United Leeds. It's not. But there is that extra little bite there that some people will be in. But there's no room to talk about Munich. There's no room to talk about Hillsborough. There's no room to talk about any of that because it's a life away from football. It's a life.
Yeah, and it is always that small majority. And I'm sure, there was a lot of City fans backing for the fans to be punished by the club, not just Liverpool fans. So hopefully we don't see any of that going into Wembley. But one thing I thought would be a bit of fun, get a bit of controversy. Let's do a combined 11. I've seen a lot of people saying that maybe one or two City players get into this Liverpool side. Daps, I'm sure you're going to massively agree with this.
Do you know what it is? I need so much context to do this, right? I need to know if it's based on just the league. I need to know if it's based on all
as a footballer overall.
Right. Okay, and over this season or
just career wise or career and quality wise, just who you think is the better player. So we'll start with one that I think Owen and Matty will massively agree on. Alisson, Becker or Ederson? Matty, I'll let you start.
I like Ederson, to be fair, but I'd say Alisson purely on the basis of what tips it for me is the Brazil form. Because Alisson for Brazil won them the what's it even called now?
Copa America.
The Copa America, where when Ederson played, he didn't win it, and that's purely it. I think it's a toss of a coin with them two. But for me, Alisson Becker is probably he's going to go down when he retires, one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time. I think Ederson for City is fantastic, but I think his Brazil form probably just edges it, and I think Alisson's probably a better shot stopper overall as well.
Owen, I want to, we all agree Ederson's probably a better passer of the ball than Alisson, but as an overall goalkeeper, taking in position and shot stopping, and distribution. Yes, he's not as good as distribution, but he's probably the second best keeper at distribution. It's a very underrated part of his game, isn't it? Alisson's passing.
Yeah, Alisson's massively underrated. I think even his positioning, he never seems to make any kind of unbelievable saves. Like you see Ramsey or keepers like that, De Gea, clips on Twitter you see where they're diving around and kind of people are going, "Oh, what a brilliant save!" You never really get that with Alisson or Ederson, to be fair. Both of them are kind of good positioning and just do keep things simple. And I think that's the main thing, really. For me, I always go Alisson. I kind of, when it comes to the goalkeeper, I just say Alisson and move on to kind of the more debatable ones, because I don't think there's anything in it, really. I think Liverpool fans are going to take Alisson, Man City fans are going to take Edison, and that's about that, really.
Do you know what? I was waiting to see what you lot said. I think it's important. Again, I put Edison as possibly Pep's best ever signing for City, because of what he means to us. Because I go back to our first season, and I was having this conversation with someone the other day. We got when Pep came in, the season before Pep came in, we got 6 points. When Pep came in, it was very clear our fullbacks and our goalkeeper could not play out from the back. We brought in Claudio Bravo, it didn't change. The minute we brought in Edison, it changed, because the confidence every single player has on the pitch when he's got the ball at his feet allows them to be in the position they need to. You'll see it if we play Zach Steffen. The players do not look as confident. However, last week, the save against Sterling, the non-save against Jota, that's the difference when it comes to shot stopping. And I thought, like, neither of them were that difficult saves. One of them made it, the other didn't. And for me, that kind of does show Edison just isn't quite as good. I do think he, probably a bit like Trent, gets put down as being worse as a shot stopper to how Trent is than he is. But yeah, so I will go with Alisson as well.
I think what's important, though, if you put Alisson City's side and put Edison Liverpool's side, I don't think Liverpool are as good with Edison. I don't think City be as good with Alisson. I think they pretty much suit each system they're playing in. I don't think Edison would be anywhere near as good at Liverpool, same with Alisson at City, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say that, you look at, we play a stupidly high line, which facilitates a lot of 1v1s, and Alisson is by far the best 1v1 goalkeeper in world football. I don't even think it's close. I do want to bring up this from Don Smoke, though. That is not the best opinion. Alisson's shot stopping looks simple because his positioning is unbelievable. He doesn't have to make Hollywood saves like Ramsdale, like De Gea, like Pickford. He catches the ball when they're, flying about. Maybe Edison's shot stopping is underrated. I honestly don't really watch him enough to maybe say it, but Alisson is, in my opinion, probably top 3 shot stoppers in world football.
Yeah. So Don Smoke said that. Hold tight, Don Smoke. Don Smoke watches quite a few shows I go on, right? I don't know if he's heard me say that before, but he's got it spot on. The difference is Ramsdale makes some saves look absolutely amazing, whereas you don't see that with Alisson. And to be fair, with Edison as well, their positioning is so much better than some other goalkeepers that you never really see them pulling out these, like, diving, having to stretch out, because their positioning is just better. That is that simple. So it makes something that could look very difficult look very easy. So he's bang on the money with that.
Yeah. Right back, Daps. I'm going to give this. You don't need to debate it. Okay. Thank God. I was going to come to see if you wanted to debate that, but we'll put Trent Alexander-Arnold there. Before we go to centre backs, I'll discuss left backs. Andy Robertson or João Cancelo. Matty, you're smiling. I'll let you take this one.
I'm going to surprise a few people. I'd go with Cancelo. I would. I rate him. It's probably going to be controversial to Liverpool fans in the comments, but I think, put rivalry aside, business aside, João Cancelo is a fantastic fullback. He is. Andy Robertson, I don't think. Again, I think Liverpool and City are very systematic. So I think Andy Robertson, if you put him in a City side, isn't going to be the Andy Robertson that we see. But with Cancelo, just purely for the fact he can do it either side of the fullback position, I'd probably take Cancelo for that reason. I rarely do rate Cancelo, to be honest with you. I love Andy Robertson. For me, he's fantastic for Liverpool. But people in Liverpool are debating whether it's Robertson or Costas, and for that reason, I think people need to just remove the bias and say, do you know what, Cancelo probably is the better left back.
Do you not think, though, the fact that Robertson's been probably the best left back in world football for a good 3-4 years now?
Right.
Like Cancelo
Sorry?
last season.
I'll counter that.
Yeah, go on.
That. You're right. You're bang on. And I think, apart from this season, Robertson, I agree with you. I'd love Robertson as our left back. So once Walker goes, put Cancelo on the right, grab Robertson. I think Robertson's really good. But with what you're saying, if you're going to go with that, and Adam just said spot on, we do have to give Walker his flowers, right?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to come to you, because I think Walker, during his Spurs days and the early part of his Man City, when Trent wasn't playing, was the best right back in definitely in the Premier League.
So if you're going to go with, I mean, if Matt is willing to put Cancelo there based on the last 2 seasons, then I'll give Trent based on the last 4 seasons. But before that, Walker was the best right back in the league. So I do get Robertson. I think Robertson was quite good last week as well, actually. And I think Robertson is good because we all know Trent does go forward that little bit more than Robertson. But Robertson, you have to have that balance between the 2 fullbacks. If you have both fullbacks just flying forward, and I think Robertson is really good defensively. I also think he's a leader as well. I think, and I really watch the mentality of players, and I think Robertson's mentality is top tier as well.
Yeah. Oh, and Matty alert to the whole Kostas Tsimikas thing. We're not putting Kostas Tsimikas in there, but do you think the fact that Kostas Tsimikas has been so good when he's played has sort of brought Robertson's stock down a bit this season?
Yeah, definitely. I do think that, because post lockdown, I don't think Robertson's been fantastic, if I'm being completely honest. I think before lockdown, he was undoubtedly the best left back in the world. You couldn't question him. Him bombing forwards, his crossing was absolutely unbelievable. But ever since, it's kind of felt like he's not been that same player. And with Tsimikas improving as well in the team, he's been given more chances, to be fair, but he has adapted well. It's kind of taken the shine off Robertson a little bit. And yeah, I would agree that I would put Cancelo in this combined 11.
I want to say I want to know what he thinks of that, to be honest.
So could Cancelo be a defensive liability for City? If Liverpool throw the attack down his side, Cancelo is a baller, but how great of a defender is he?
Do you know what? I actually think, honestly, I think Cancelo and Trent are so comparable on that front. That I get what they're saying. I've seen flaws in Cancelo. Last week, Cancelo looked good against you because he didn't. Sometimes the best form of defense is attack.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw from him last week. He was actually making runs like a winger, right? And sometimes the best thing is to try and pin, like the best way to defend against Trent is to pin him back. If you can pin Trent back, right, you're a lot closer to winning a game than if you allow Trent round that halfway line. Because if he gets round that halfway line, he can start pinging balls in. You have to have him ping back, worrying. I think that's spot on. Cancelo is not. Like Robertson, for me, is a top-tier defender. Cancelo and Trent are wing-backs, ultimately. They're like, there's a guy, hold tight, Thiago's father, who's a Liverpool fan, who once said to me about Trent, and I think the same about Edison, with football players, it's about risk versus reward, right? So with Trent, it's Trent maybe, and with Cancelo, are they maybe not as good defensively as some other fullbacks? Yeah, but how good are they going forward? So therefore, him putting 3 on a plate for Salah in a game over making one mistake that leads to 1 goal, which one are you going to have? So I think it's spot on with Cancelo, but we've both got one. And someone just made a comment, if we get the right centre-backs, it doesn't matter. If we get the right centre-backs and the right DM, our full-backs can just bomb forward and do what they want.
Yeah, well, let's perfect segue into the centre backs. Virgil van Dijk starts, no, he's a guaranteed starter.
Really?
Oh,
no, I'm joking.
On.
I'm joking.
I think there's no not a debate there. I think it's Ruben Diaz and Virgil. I think it's one of each.
Oh, really?
I rate Matip. Oh, and I think Matip's unbelievable. But
you're going on season.
Ruben Diaz is. Oh, in fact, if you go on longevity, then I don't even know, but. For me, I think Ruben Diaz had a similar impact on City as to what Van Dijk's had on Liverpool, to be fair to him.
Okay, so we'll all agree that Van Dijk is the main centre-back. let's look at the other options we've got. We've got Ruben Diaz, Laporte, John Stones. He's had a good couple of seasons, but I don't think you really put him in there. Joel Matty,
Johnny Stones,
and Ibrahima Konate. But again, I think he's too fresh. So the main one's probably Diaz, Laporte, Matip. Matty, you've already said you put Diaz there. We know how much you love Joel Matip.
If you're going on purely this season, you could maybe have a case to argue Matip for how well he's done, but it's hard because I do rate Diaz, to be fair. I do think he's had an impact like Van Dijk has, so it's hard to I rate Matip so highly. Used all faces calling him Matip lot, but I think if we're being complete, if we had the choice of a dream team, I think you'd probably put Diaz next to Van Dijk, to be fair.
Owen, you agree?
I would go Laporte personally. I think when he came in the 2018-19 season, when we went toe to toe, I remember Company had just left or was like on the verge of leaving. Injured. Yeah, kind of being phased out. Then there was a massive gap there, and someone who had to kind of come in as a leader. And I remember Laporte came in and he just looked outstanding the whole way through. Came in, just did the job straight away. He came with a hefty price tag, but so did Van Dijk, so did Diaz. So look, I would go Laporte, but obviously, look, Daps has probably watched more Man City than maybe he has done. So yeah, if he says Diaz, then go for it.
Yeah, I don't rate Laporte, so I don't rate him at all.
We got stood up, didn't he, by Salah? He showed him the left-hand side in that Champions League second leg, I think it was, where Salah just curled it into the top corner. Was it that?
Do you know what? I'm just watching what Drew said, and Drew, have I spoke, because I speak on my ideal pairings at City quite a lot, but I'm just trying to work out. So my opinion is right that I think you got it spot on. When Laporte arrived at City in January, it was January, and everyone was saying Laporte and Van Dijk are levels above everyone else in the Premier League. And you are right, Laporte, there was this thing around Laporte that he could go on to be our captain. But then he got an injury that put him out for most of the season that you won the league. He was out for a lot of that season. And since he's come back, there's this thing with Laporte that I can't put my finger on, right? I don't know if it's because he keeps being linked away, and I hate that. I hate when players get linked away and don't shut it down. I hate it, right? Especially when it's a player that has decided to play for another country. It's like, if they're going to do that, they will leave us. If he gets dropped again, if we go with this the Diaz Stones partnership again, Laporte will probably go Barcelona. He's very good on corners, as in attacking corners, gets a lot of goals, but he has got a mistake in him. Big Steve was talking in the whole build up to the last game about Trent's balls. And Trent's crosses are the type that Laporte overthinks and does something stupid on. For me, the best partnership we have, and I think this is what Ross is talking about, is Diaz and Stones, because Diaz is the defender. He's the leader. Stones, although he's older, is more than happy to be the ball-playing defender. And at times last season when they played together, you would see Diaz literally manhandling John Stones into position, and Stones was fine with that. Whereas I don't believe Diaz and Laporte has that partnership, because I don't think Laporte would be willing to take orders from Diaz. And it's just something I watch sometimes where you see that little chemistry between two people. I would 100% go with Diaz based on the impact he had. However, John Stones this season, he hasn't played as much, but every single time he has stepped up, he's put in close to man of the match performances. Against Madrid the other night, he was sensational. And we all know Stones used to have a lot of mistakes in him, but he's slowly not having as many mistakes in him now. So in a couple of years, I could see John Stones stepping up as maybe one of England's lead centre-backs with the fridge there. He's going to have to drop back. But I think in this, look, if you put it on paper, Diaz and Van Dijk, I don't think there's a team in the world that wouldn't take that as a centre-back partnership. No, yeah. It's just...
Yeah, so
you're not. It doesn't matter who you got. You can have Benzema, Lewandowski, and Salah against them two, you could probably put money on the centre backs just manhandling them. So.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty good defence so far. So we've got Alisson, Trent, Ruben Diaz, Virgil van Dijk, and João Cancelo. Moving into a bit more of a maybe controversial position than midfield. I'm going to go with DM first because we've both got pretty standout DMs. Rodri or Fabinho?
Fabinho.
Daps, we've took it first. I'll let Daps make his case so we can argue it. Unless he thinks Fabinho.
If we're going overall performances, remember, I just can't.
So, if Fernandinho was 2 years younger, this would be a debate. And it would be one of the best debates in Premier League football for probably the last however many years, because those two are the standout alongside Kante, but maybe he plays a slightly different role. They are the standout DMs in the Premier League of the last 10 years, in my opinion. Maybe 10's over exaggeration. Let's say 5 easily. However, Fernandinho is not the same man anymore. He came on the other night, sensational performance, but after 20 minutes, he was knackered. Rodri has looked really, really good, but he plays a different role. He's great at keeping that game ticking. He hasn't got yet, and it might come, but he hasn't got that dogged DM in him yet. And the second thing I'd say on Rodri is, and he's still got 6 or 7 games to turn it round, but the same thing this season is happening as last season, where he's had a really good season. He's got to the business end and he's starting to make little mistakes. So for that reason, it's got to be Fabinho for me.
Matty, as Daff has just said there, that's as well as, the dogged DM, the sometimes third centre-back. Fabinho, he's the one who keeps the ball ticking, isn't he? He's always looking forward. Even though he maybe players in his position aren't known to do that, but he's always looking for that pass, and he's got a goal in him as well. And, we've seen some of the passes he has produced. So it's as much as Rodri is a great player, Fabinho, in some people's minds, has been probably a top 3 Jurgen Klopp signing since he's joined, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think Fabinho has been as important as Van Dijk, to be honest with you. I think Fabinho is key in a sense of when Andy Robertson and Trent are balling forward, Fabinho's there. He's that comfort blanket before you hit Van Dijk and stuff. And for that reason, I'd choose Fabinho every day. I think with the ball at his feet, I think Rodri is better than Fabinho. But as an overall defensive midfielder, I think Fabinho is well better. I agree with what Dap said. If it was Fernandinho and Fabinho, then that is a debate, because Fernandinho was fantastic. He was unbelievable for City. But if we're comparing Fabinho or Rodri, it's got to be Fabinho. It has to be.
And one last thing on this, to say, right, and this is the reason this player, whether it be Fabinho or whether it be Fernandinho, for both of us, this is the reason why you won the league 2 years ago, was it? Two. And we won the league last season, right? Not because both of them, when we got Laporte injured, you got Van Dijk injured. Both of us decided, you know what? We're going to shove our world-class DMs into defense. And both of them slotted in and did a job. They weren't amazing, but they did a good job, right? That's fine. But what you've just done is you've taken 2 world-class DMs out of the DM role and given it to someone else. And that role for me, if you get that role right, like a Fernandinho or Fabinho, you're one step closer to winning the league. And I honestly believe for both of us, it wasn't the fact they're playing in defense. It wasn't that they made mistakes in defense. It's that they weren't playing in a role that they can dominate the whole game. And that, I honestly believe that.
Yeah, that's right. Because we figured out the last 2 games of the last season that we may as well put Nat Phillips and Reece Williams at centre-back, because then at least we got Fabinho at DM in front of them, protecting and then helping the midfield. So I think we kind of figured that out a bit late, to be fair there.
Yeah, there's so many things. Honestly, there are so many similarities between Liverpool and City, even down to the transfers you made the season after you won the Premier League for the first time. If you go back and look at the transfers we made the first time we won the Premier League, both of us made mistakes. We went and bought squad players, not players that are going to push. You've learned a bit quicker than us because it took us 2 leagues to get into that. But now you're buying players that are fighting for first 11 places all the time. There's so many similarities.
Yeah, so we all agree Fabinho. I'm going to speak on behalf of all of us and say KDB is one of the other midfielders.
Ooh, okay.
If you're debating Kevin De Bruyne, there's no debate. He's the best midfielder in the world. Yeah. He is. And the only thing I'm going to cling on to is he's a Liverpool fan. That's the only thing I'll cling on to. But I do love De Bruyne at Liverpool. I think every Liverpool fan would. He is unbelievable, and he gets into any team in the world. Walks into it.
Oh well, I'm sorry. Go on, Daps.
Are you not deciding the formation then?
I say 4-3-3. That's pretty what we both play most of the time. Yeah.
I mean, I would put De Bruyne in my team. I wouldn't put him where you lot are putting him, but
let's
just put him there for now.
Yeah, we'll put our right-sided midfielder plays a lot higher usually. Actually, no, our left-sided midfielder usually plays higher. Sorry, yeah. So we'll stick him on the left, so he's more of an attacking forward. Owen, we know your love for James Milner. Does he get in your team?
A year ago, or 2 years ago, I think maybe I would have had an argument there. But he doesn't play nowadays.
Come on, Owen. Come on.
No, I absolutely love James Milner. He's been a great servant to the club, and I think he will go down as a club legend. I think what the job he did for City as well, Daps, you'll know, he was a great squad player for you guys as well. So
he was actually the best player the season that we lost him. I think he was our best player for me. He was probably one of the ones that we didn't want to leave. I think he is the definition of how what used to be called a utility player is now a player that can play in multiple positions and transition with the game, and that it's perfect to the way Pep and Klopp play football. It's no longer about, his utility, we could just shove him in anywhere. No, it's like Pep wants a whole team of players like that can just play all over the place. He's a great player, but unfortunately, after he joined Dewey, he had a bit too much to say. So, but he's a great player, absolute sensational servant to football.
Yeah, I think Don Smoke's got it on here. I think the debate's going to be between Thiago, Bernardo, Gundogan. Matty is, Thiago, he's got something about him, and maybe he hasn't lived up to his full potential at Liverpool yet, but you can't ignore the quality he possesses, can you?
But I think it's key to remember that this is a combined 11 overall, and for that reason alone, Thiago Alcantara goes into that midfield, because I think for many City fans, they probably haven't seen much of Thiago at Liverpool, and for me, he is probably the best passer of a footballer I've seen play for Liverpool. And we've seen the likes of Gerrard, Alonso, Mascherano, etc. But Thiago is unbelievable. He's just unbelievable. The control on the ball, he never seems to misplace a pass. The ball stuck to him like glue. And like I said, this combined 11 is, as overall performances, Thiago's got to. And I think, to be honest with you, that if you went and asked Pep, I think he'd say the same, because he's coached him and stuff at Barca. I would, honestly. I think Thiago's, for me, he walks into a combined 11. He does. He's mustard. He is.
I'm not so sure about that. I would in the midfield, I'd put in Phil Foden if it was down to me.
No.
In the midfield, yeah.
To be fair, I think if you're in 5 years' time, potentially, but right now, nah.
No, in this current team, I would put Phil Foden, saying you can have like Salah, Jota, and fit those players in there. That's what I would do.
Daps, you've mentioned Bernardo Silva. I think you're probably going to lean towards him, or are you on the Thiago side?
I've got my best 11 sorted out in my mind. I've seen it on paper and it looks sexy as hell. And I was just listening to Matt and I was pulling faces and everything he said is spot on. Look, when Thiago came in, we were in this room doing a podcast and there was 3 Liverpool fans, a United fan and me. And I said at the time, I think he's a wrong signing for Liverpool. And straight away, they all jumped on me. What, you don't rate Thiago? And I was like, you didn't listen to what I said. At no point did I say I don't rate him. When we got Pep, the 2 players I wanted Pep to bring were Alaba, the left back, and no, not Alaba. Who's the Swiss guy? The Swiss.
Yeah, Alaba. He plays a centre back and left back
now, but he used to play right. It was the two players I wanted Pep to bring were Alaba and Thiago. He is an absolute baller. However, in his first season, don't get me wrong. Of course, I was one of those guys looking at his stats, thinking this is fucking brilliant, right? But like Matt said, we're not talking over the last 2 seasons. We're talking about overall as a baller. So for me, yes, he would be as one of my 3 midfielders alongside Fabinho and someone else. Not Foden. Foden, Pep will tell you that Foden can do the role in midfield already, can do the role as a false 9 already. I get it. Foden is best wide left at the moment. And one day he will be an amazing central midfielder. Not at the moment. He's best wide left. His impact comes from wide left. So I would go Thiago, Fabinho, someone else, and De Bruyne would be playing elsewhere.
Okay, well, I think we'll just stick De Bruyne there. Just we've been going over.
Who's just someone else though? Who is just someone else?
Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva, because Bernardo Silva gives legs. He really gives legs. Like he's that guy that can put in miles upon miles upon miles. You've seen it. I mean, against Liverpool, if you had to pick out your standout players over the last 4 seasons, Bernardo, however much you hate him, he'd be there.
Bernardo's the type of player. He's like Suarez. Everyone else hates him, but you love him because he's yours. I think that's the best way to describe Bernardo Silva because he is a baller, to be fair. But I just hate his shit out of me. But if he was at Liverpool, I'd fucking love it, and everyone else would hate him. So I do respect him, to be fair.
So my middle 3 would be Bernardo Silva, Fabinho, Thiago,
and then you're putting De Bruyne
false 9.
False 9. Jeez,
my favorite position for City. The reason being is he's clinical, but the whole idea of a false 9 is a player that when you don't have the ball knows how to get back into midfield and play as a midfielder. So, like for me, again, when we play Grealish or we play Foden, they're not the same as De Bruyne because they're not as clinical. De Bruyne is that guy, and as a team, it then gives us 4 in midfield, plus Trent, plus Cancelo bombing down the right. We can pin teams back, and then if it was like that, I'd probably give him to your 2 wide players. But if you're not going to let me have him through the middle, then I'm probably going to put up a bit more of a fight.
We'll see.
To be fair, I agree with Kevin De Bruyne as a false 9 is unbelievable. Like I've seen a few games when City played him there. He played not comparing him to Bobby Firmino at all. But how we look at Bobby and his off-ball movements, De Bruyne does that for City when he plays in that false 9 position fantastically well.
And if you're going to put Jota through the middle, right? I don't know if you're going to, but because you lot were telling me earlier that apart from goals, that's all he does. And I don't want any player in this team that you guys are telling me just does one thing. So
I wouldn't put Jota in a command 11.
Okay, let's get into the front 3. I'm going to do it differently because I think you can have so many different variations. So I'll go around everybody, ask what front 3 you're having and why. So I'll start. My front 3, I'd have Mane on the left, Salah up front, and Mahrez on the right. I'm not going to give an explanation why, because I don't know why. But Matty, I'll go with your front 3 first.
Salah on the right. If we're going overall, so not just on this season, Mane on the left. And see, I've got De Bruyne in midfield. But if we were putting him in the false 9, I'd keep him there. However, if we were going on keeping him in the midfield and what I would put in my predicted 11, I will probably put Roberto Firmino in there because he is the most underrated footballer in the world. Thierry Henry, who is probably the best striker the Premier League's ever seen, said he would take Firmino in over any striker, and I agree with him. What Roberto Firmino does off the ball is unbelievable. You watch Roberto Firmino, you see the game properly. He's fantastic, but that's only because I'm putting De Bruyne in my midfield. So that's the only reason I'd put Firmino as the false 9. If De Bruyne was going what that to say is the false 9, I'd have to put De Bruyne there just purely to get him in the team because De Bruyne to me is the closest thing to Steven Gerrard.
Owen, your front 3?
Salah and Mane must. You have to have them. I think even now, although Salah's had a bit of a blip, they've both been absolutely unbelievable for Liverpool over the past 5 years. So I don't think there's any debate there. But Firmino, that is interesting because although he has been very, very good over the last 5 years, last year or so, I just don't think he's been playing very well at all. Klopp thinks the same. He hasn't been in the team. Jota has come in. Even Diaz now. Firmino, even though he played the other night. And don't get me wrong, he's a good squad player. But now 30 years old, you'd be expecting him to do a little bit better.
I think he is.
Yeah, it feels like he's a lot older, doesn't it? But kind of just because he's been taken out of the team more. I think his all-round passing isn't as good as it used to be now. And it's weird because I think he has improved his finishing. So what you normally consider with Firmino is he's great all-round play, passing's fantastic, but finishing not great. But nowadays I see him as more kind of good finishing, but not so good in his all-round gameplay. Still good pressing. But yeah, so it would be Salah, Mane, and if you're not putting Foden in the midfield, then it would have to be Foden in the attack for me.
Quick one, Owen. Go and watch that Benfica game again and tell me about Roberto Firmino's passing to God. Please.
Yeah,
Charlie,
it's all right. Like we in the cup against Nottingham Forest, his passing was abysmal that day. So even though
Roberto Firmino is the man for the big occasion, that is exactly.
Can you only turn up in the big occasions though and get in the team? I don't know.
Yeah, because that's the big occasions what win your trophies.
But to be fair, he wasn't in a big occasion against Manchester City. I think I agree with Owen to an extent. I think the last 2 years, Matty has massively declined, and he does show his quality, against Benfica. But does he do it enough to where you can look overall and put him in this squad? I think there's too many. I think too
many of our fan base.
I love Roberto Firmino, but I think as overall, I think there's probably two City players that would get in over him. But Daps, I'll let you give who you think's going in that front three.
Right. I don't want this person in our front three, right? But I've just got to say, me and Matt are definitely on similar wavelengths because all last week, I put my combined 11 out, and all last week I had every City fan shooting down one player saying, no, Mahrez over him, Sterling over him, Foden over him. But there's one player, and I knew it from the Tuesday when we played Atletico Madrid, and he didn't start. And I go back to PSG before we played you earlier in the season, and he didn't start. And then he played against you in both games. This man. And he's so similar to Bobby, right? These games where, and right, just to, on a similar note, Haaland. Do I want Haaland? Of course I do. My one concern is, before Haaland signs for us, someone needs to pull him to one side and say, listen, mate, unless you completely change how you play, when we play Liverpool, and when we play similar big teams to Liverpool, you need to understand you may well hold bench till about the 60th, because we need people like Jesus that will lead the press from the front, not stop running, like cover back, chase back, the work rate, and also the passing for his for the Sterling. It didn't end up a goal, did it? Because Alisson saved it. But these players are so underrated, and I think only fans of a club that really watch it and appreciate it, that's what you want. There's a reason why, if you go back to Man United with, was it Park? Where big games. Right. Since Jesus' first season where he came in and scored a lot of goals, since then, he's never been a main starter for us. But he's never been talked about being linked away, because he must be happy to know that Pep trusts him, that Pep will play him in these big games. Because when you have squads like City and Liverpool, you're allowed to have these players that, you know what, they don't have to start all the time. But I think Jesus deserves a shout out like Bobby does. I wouldn't want either of them in our team, but they're definitely honourable mentions. Another one that Adam's mentioning, really, is Adam a Liverpool fan?
I think so, yeah.
It's really refreshing to see Liverpool fans talk good on Sterling. So Sterling, I get it. I hate our fan base when they disrespect him, because He's like that friend you've had for 20 years who's really rubbish with money, but he's always been rubbish with money. You can't all of a sudden start moaning about him being rubbish with money. Sterling's always overthought stuff, missed simple chances. We can't start talking about this season. It's always happened. But without Sterling, we didn't win 3 leagues. So we can't disrespect him. Again, though, I wouldn't put him in my starting 11. I would go with Salah on the right. For me, the best player in world football over the last 3 years. Maybe 4 years. On the right, that's on the right. In the middle, I put De Bruyne. And on the left, I'm in 2 minds. If you let me have De Bruyne through the middle, then I'll go with Mane. If you don't, I'll go with. If you don't, I'll go with Foden.
I don't think you can put Foden in that team. Pep has sat him on the bench for the first 3 years of his career, and he's only really broke out.
I think that's very similar to Harvey Elliott with Foden, though, because of his
100%. But if we're going overall, there was no doubt in Foden's career, Foden's skill. He is going to be one of the best players in the world in a few years. The quality's there. But if you're going overall, I think Sterling's the only player who you can look at and go, maybe
not enough quality, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think that's where he falls down, the quality. But he's been a Premier League staple for years now with Liverpool and with Manchester City. But quality-wise, I don't think you can have Foden over Mane.
I think Foden would be more of a chat in 5 years or so.
I think I got asked a question yesterday by a Liverpool fan about the Ballon d'Or, that if Liverpool win the league and the Champions League this season, should Mane win the Ballon d'Or? And I was like, well, if we're going based on his performances, maybe not, but that's not what UEFA base it on. And so if Liverpool win the Champions League, the league, and he won the AFCON. Well, for me, if he doesn't, then you've got to ask UEFA what they're actually voting on, because
Ballon d'Or is Ballon d'Or is voted by France Football, and they recently came out with a statement saying that now they're going to focus more on players' individual seasons than team performances. So the likes of Jorginho would never even touch the top 15 because his performances weren't that. On that basis, I don't think it's happening. And I think Mane's been too hot and cold this season. You can't look past the likes of Benzema and Lewandowski or Mbappe. I think they're the 3 of my favourites at the moment. Anthony said here, Mane is one of the all-time. I think in Premier League history, on that left wing, I can't think of a player who's been better than him in 7 years.
7 years.
Okay. Sorry, I'm counting Thierry Henry as a striker. Yeah. I'm counting Thierry Henry as a striker. And you look at that left wing, who you've got Perez, Bale, Ryan Giggs is a longevity merchant.
Giggs over there. He's not coming. He's not invited to the team.
It's Perez. Robert Perez.
No. Perez. I think Perez is slightly overrated, to be honest.
Yeah, Mark Overmars as well was on the left, wasn't he?
Yeah,
so I do think you look at numbers, and when Sadio Mane retires or leaves Liverpool, that's when his true quality is gonna show, and he will be up there with some of the best wingers of all time in the Premier League.
If we're talking on the left and we're talking numbers, then Sterling will be in that conversation, because Sterling was at his best on the left with Sergio through the middle. And you know what? If he does stay, because I've got this idea he's going to go Arsenal in the summer, but if he does stay and we bring in someone like Haaland, you could really see a resurgence from Sterling, because what he thrives off is finding space when defenders are worried about other players. Sterling will find pockets of space.
I think, to be honest, if City get Haaland, you just perform better by playing Sterling with him.
Yeah.
I mean,
so what are we doing front 3 then?
I think we keep De Bruyne in the middle.
I don't know. I'm with Daps, you know, after Bruyne.
All right. Okay, so what other midfielder are we going with? Because then that's another whole debate, you know.
I'd put Bernardo in the midfield instead of De Bruyne, and put De Bruyne as the false nine.
No Foden though. I don't know. Feels weird.
Not in midfield. He hasn't played all season. He hasn't. Do you know what? I think in the Premier League, Foden's probably played in midfield like 5 times.
Oh, really?
He plays at left or right wing or false nine. He doesn't play in the middle.
It's crazy having him in that team. He's got so much quality.
But if you,
he will.
It's
he
an
will
overall
in the future.
11 out.
Yeah.
So I think I agree right now. He doesn't get in it. But if you spoke at the end of all these players' careers, I think Phil Foden would get into a combined 11. But based on performances like over the past few years, then I think he wouldn't get in. There's too many other ballers, to be fair, and I think Foden's just too young. He's still got a lot of maturing, but he's going to be world class. He is.
I actually did. I did a last week. I did an under 24 combined 11, and it's pretty good, to be fair, between the two teams. We've got quite a nice combined 11.
Yeah, definitely. But I think we'll stick De Bruyne up front. So this is how the team's looking. We've got Alisson, Trent, Diaz, Van Dijk, Cancelo, Fabinho, Bernardo Silva, Thiago, Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah, and Kevin De Bruyne in the false nine. I think that team wins the quadruple about 4 seasons in a row together.
He's the 12th man.
Do you know what? It would.
Jürgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola.
No, I'm not involved. I'm not getting involved in that. Do you know what? As well, because Salah and De Bruyne are good mates as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I think
kids go to the same school and stuff. Apparently, yeah.
In terms of managers, right? I think Klopp's the best man manager. But I think
definitely
coach. Best, but I rarely, maybe an unpopular opinion with Liverpool fans, but go and watch the Take the Ball, Pass the Ball documentary about Pep season at Barcelona, and I promise you, you'll respect them more after, because I did. Or one of my mates who played for Liverpool Academy all the way up until he was 18 always used to speak about Pep and how good he was. And you won't realise how good Pep is until you go and watch that documentary, because he is a fantastic, fantastic coach. And I'm not going to be biased and say he's not, because he really is.
Yeah, we'll all agree that Divock Origi is the substitute.
I've used him all season, right? As because I've said that we do need a striker. We don't necessarily need a Haaland because of the impact it will have on the rest of the team with wages, with not being able to play the false nine. And Origi is the one that I keep. I mean, I originally go to Zeko or Giroud or someone like that. But then the other one is, joking aside, how many goals would Origi get if he was like plan B for City, just to throw on?
I've said multiple times that Newcastle made the wrong decision with Chris Wood. They could have got Divock Origi for probably £10 million cheaper.
Origi, when he plays as a 9 and not on the left,
he's sick.
Yeah,
he's really fast. His hold-up play is great. You know, and Klopp has said so many times that Divock Origi is the best finisher in Liverpool. You know, I don't know how much I agree with that, but Klopp sees him every day. And, you know, he's the man for the big moments as well. He thrives on the big occasion. So we'll agree that Origi's the
one sec, Charlie, so pull this up. Take the ball, pass the ball, urge everyone to go and watch it. And it'll honestly, and not just it's unbelievable. Just watch how good Pep is. Unbelievable.
Yeah. But that's the combined 11. We'll wrap up the stream with predictions just really quick, because we've been, we usually keep them for now, but, you know, it's been good fun and it's been flowing. So we'll go with predictions. Daps, I'll leave you to the end as the guest. But Matty, predictions for tomorrow's game.
If Pep's not playing mind games and De Bruyne and Kyle Walker actually aren't playing, Daps might know better than me what he thinks, but I think Liverpool win tomorrow, to be honest. For some reason, Klopp's just changed this year and he seems like he wants the clubs. Liverpool are fantastic at Wembley as well. I know City are, but Liverpool, Anfield South, just it's different. I do think Liverpool win. I probably agree with Anthony's score 2-1. I think it's going to be a very, very, very tight game. Do you know what? I might even throw a curveball and say I think it'll probably go to pens.
Yeah, never know. If you want to as well, please do leave a like on the video and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. And put your predictions in the comments. Owen, what are you going with?
I think whenever we play City, we always start off quite nervy, and City kind of dominate for the first half, And then after that, then second half, we kind of come out and realize like we need to play now, and we need to kind of get on the ball and take a few risks. So I think that's kind of how it will pan out. I think City be the same as last week. To be fair, I think City might get that goal in the first half, and then I think we will equalise. But yeah, I can see it's going to depend. I think it will be very nervy, and I think both teams will even each other out. But I like to think that we'd do it on pens.
Yeah. Before we go to you, Daps, I'll give my 2 cents. I think it's going to be 2-2 again, and I think it will go to penalties. I don't know why. I've just got a feeling it's penalties.
Is there extra time in this?
Yeah. I think he brought it back.
Neither of us want that, do we?
No. But I do think 2-2 for the third game in a row. But I think we win on penalties. I think we've got too many good penalty takers. But Daps.
Before you go stop, though, if De Bruyne starts, I'm not as confident as I usually am.
He won't start. He's not starting. He won't start. No way. Right. So, firstly, if it goes to penalties, yeah. When you played Chelsea in the Carabao Cup, I presume you lot know about City and penalties.
Nah.
You're terrible.
Absolute dog shit at penalties. Like, honestly, even De Bruyne misses penalties for us.
Oh, I remember you went through that the seasons where you were swapping penalty takers every
Aguero couldn't score them for us. Like, Edison keeps saying, let me take them because it's that bad. Mahrez has stepped up and recently scored a few. Sterling always misses them, then gets a rebound. And I watched the and Chelsea game and I was like, if the league was down to penalties, we are absolutely fucked because the quality of the penalties in that game were sensational. Like until Kepa. So if it goes to penalties, there's only one winner for me. Unless, you know what, I'll be honest. If it goes to penalties and we win it, I might go and put money on us winning the Champions League and the league because pigs are flying. I don't do predictions because I'm quite superstitious. I don't wear my team's shirt on match days because I wore it once and we lost. The season we're up against you. My daughter has to do wish City good luck before the game. The other week, a channel made me do predictions against Crystal Palace. I made a prediction. We all saw what happened. Since then, I've done prediction. I've said I'm not doing predictions and we've drawn. So I am going to do a prediction this week. I'm going to try something new. I predict that Liverpool win.
Oh, you're trying to jinx us. You're trying to do the reverse.
I am. I don't want to draw. So that if I do not predict, we might get a draw. I predict Liverpool win. And deep down, that is kind of what I think. I think I think you might want it that little bit more because the quadruple will put you one up on United. And with the injuries and Atletico will have taken a lot out of us, a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's the key. I think them playing Atletico before us and us playing Benfica, City flew back they played on Wednesday in Spain. I know it's only 2 hours away, then you've got to fly back. They've got to rest.
They're not going to Manchester. They flew straight to London and they've stayed there. So they haven't even went home, the players. So
that could have a knock-on effect as well. I feel like we've seen it before at Liverpool, like when players have flew straight to games and not going home and stuff like that. It does have an effect. I
think the Atletico game mentally as well as physically. Even after the game, it wasn't like that game finished and then mentally they could switch off. There was so much going on in that game that will have carried over. That I think mentally it's probably taken them another 24 hours to get out of the way it ended, the mayhem. I mean, if I'm Foden, I'm wanting Savic to be pulled up and given have you not seen the way he was dragging Foden about after the whistle had gone?
Do you know what it reminds me of? Years ago, Jamie Carragher went into somebody and pushed him off the pitch while he was going into the tackle. And if I was an Atletico fan, I would have loved that. It's a great thing, but when you're on the end of it, it's dead annoying.
I think there was a lot of stuff that I think, and it's not. Someone tried to defend it to me, saying, "Yeah, but that's what they're known for doing." I'm like, that doesn't change the rules of football. And some of the stuff they did is, and I said this yesterday. There is no way that, and this is why we love the Liverpool Man City games. Every single game, neither of our managers, neither of our players are going there for a draw. Ever.
We always end
They're
up with a
both
draw.
going to win it, and they don't change. And that is, like I said, hopefully when we left, I've already booked my flight back for 3 weeks' time. I said, I hope to God next time we're in Madrid, it's a game of football and not a game of British Bulldog, because that's what it was. And the worst thing is it was in the first leg as well. And that, I think, has just drained us too much. And I think you lot want that. You want the quadruple, and you should do. So,
yeah. I mean, Matty, you can probably speak for this, but I wouldn't count on Madrid not employing Real Madrid not employing that tactics, because it's a Spanish thing, and I hope Villarreal don't do it. But
I think that, to be fair, though, I think both semi-finals, I think a lot of Liverpool fans, I mean, I am confident, but Villarreal are no pushover, and the same for Real Madrid. Everyone's going to be the Liverpool City final, but it could go terribly wrong. It could be a Real Madrid Villarreal final. Let's not forget, they've still got Karim the Dream up front, and Villarreal good as well. But yeah, it's going to be tough. But this one, we're watching two of the greatest sides we've ever seen, and this won't be the last time we see them this season. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we've got 4 people who think Liverpool will win. Well, one of them is trying to jinx us, but we'll take you. But Matty, Owen, appreciate you for joining. Daps as well. If you want to go and check out Daps, where can we find you on everything?
So Never a Foul on YouTube. We've been a bit quiet recently. Ty who does Trafford Tunnel, I've been doing predominantly other people's shows just to build up my profile a bit. And Never a Foul in the summer, we're bringing back properly. We're going to be doing a lot more content on there again. And then on Twitter and Instagram, ideally Instagram, because it's a nicer place. MCFCDaps. Find me there. And really appreciate you having me on. It's nice. These last 10 days, I've been doing a lot of shows with Liverpool fans, and predominantly it's been nice because it hasn't been the way it is on Twitter, ultimately. So it's good, respectful and everything. And I like it like that because it means I don't have to turn into the idiot that I don't really like being, because I can just talk about football. And when someone comes at you, you have to turn into a different person. I don't like that. So
yeah, definitely. We try and keep it away from the football Twitter scenario. But again, guys, if you are new, please do leave a like on the video and subscribe. Turn that bell notification on. Subscribe to Never a Foul and go and follow Daps and Matty, Owen, and myself on Twitter. But everyone for joining, I appreciate it. And up